Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. Tonight, we're going to talk about the demo or trial, however you want to frame it. But Steam, Valve, if you will, is offering Steam game trials, starting with Dead Space, the remake. So, basically they're coming out with this 90 minutes for free type concept with this game. So basically you can play as much as you want for 90 minutes to determine if it's the game you want to buy. Beforehand, Steam had, it's not widely published, but most Steam players know that if you played a game less than 2 hours, you can return it for full refund. Granted, there are nefarious actors out there who, if a game is less than 2 hours, have beaten the game and then returned it, which those are dirtbags. But if it's literally a bad game for you, you can return it for full refund, as long as you don't abuse the system. Because Steam has been known to ban people who have abused the system from ever using it again, or from their platform. So they already kind of had that. You could buy a game kind of risk-free, if you will. And then if you didn't like it, you could return it. And I have done that a few times. I have downloaded some horrible games, bought them, and then complained and returned them. But this is different. It's basically a 90-minute trial of the game. And if you want it, you can buy it. The game's only $48 right now on Steam. So, it's relatively inexpensive to begin with. So, but inexpensive is relative, I guess, to where you are in your finances and things like that. So it gives you a chance to try it before you buy. I'm sure they're going to watch and see how this game does to see if it's something they can more widely adopt amongst other games, and see how that goes. And on the other hand, Xbox had mentioned something like this in like kind of a meeting that they had, where they're calling it time slices. Not a whole lot more information was given on what a time slice is, but there's a lot of speculation on what that might be. Is like a demo, paid demo, or because in this same interview that this came out, they were talking about ad supported games and different monetization channels for developers. So you could develop, and so like the speculation was going, it's either like trials of games to try, or we will let you try this game out with ad support, right? You play this game. I don't know how I'd feel about getting neck deep in a game, trying it out with an ad popping up and interrupting the flow of my game. But, I will say something that's been missing the last quite a few years for games is demos. This will, especially with like Steam doing on PC, what I feel like this is going to do, it's going to prevent the backlash that we're seeing. Not necessarily backlash, but you having bought a game and it's just horribly ported to PC. It's just a train wreck and a half, because that's what's been happening a lot, right? Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff seems to be games that are coming from, Sony PlayStation games. Like we're talking about Last of Us, the ones that just recently came out on PC. How it was just horribly done and looked like trash, and it seems to happen quite a bit with their games. But other people are responsible for doing this, not just Sony. Sony's just more in the limelight because it's been happening recently with their pushed out games. I mean, I think there was quite a bit of issues on PC with the latest Star Wars Jedi Survivor game that came out. Redfall had a lot of PC related issues and stuff like that. So, it'll hopefully let players get to see some of that. On the Microsoft side, I'm kind of wondering how they're going to do this time slice or slices of time games with the ad stuff. So maybe that was kind of in the interview. It kind of like seemed, I could see where it's two separate things, but I can also see where it's combined. They didn't really talk a whole lot about, time slices of games. It was just mentioned in this. So, it's hard to figure out what's going on. Time slices and games with ads internally. I don't know what that looks like. Do you get like a little pip screen inside your game with an ad that pops up for Old Spice body wash or something, or whatever kind of ad supported cookies you have installed on your machine, But Microsoft's talking about experimenting with other models of revenue generation, and that's, you could in the future get a cheaper game if you decide to say, I'll take this game with ad supports. I don't think I will ever go that route unless games are like $150, $200. It's like, I'll sell you this game for $60 if you allow ads. I'll be like, oh man, I think I can deal with it. But then I'd probably just rage quit when an ad popped up in the middle of a boss fight or something. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? So I don't know. I don't know what this looks like, but it seems like more than Steam is coming up with this. But Microsoft has also been really good about refunding games that are just horrible. I've never had them turn down a refund for me. I've never had Steam turn down a refund for me, as long as I was under the amount of time. And I've gone over and had both of them refund when I gave them explanation of why I was refunding. So, never really had an issue. I put an hour or less into, I put 5 minutes into a game before. I'm like, this is not it. I'm done. Refund me. So, both of them had a really good refund system in place already. And before that, software refunds for retailers was pretty much non-existent. There was no such thing, right? You could never take a PC game back to the store ever and get a refund when I was younger. If you opened it, it was yours. Now, sealed, they may do something with you. They've done store credit, but stores would actively refuse to refund you. They'll exchange it if there's something wrong with it, but they would never just outright give you a refund. If it was a bad game, they didn't care. They were just like, they couldn't tell if you had taken it home, ripped a copy of it, and brought the game back. So they just had a blanket policy of no refunds on software, and that really went to games too. They did the same thing for video games, because back in the day you could rip a PlayStation or an Xbox game and take it back to the store, if you had the software to do so. So everybody had a no software, no game return policy. That included Walmart. Walmart's known as graciously customers always right, but on software, negative. You can't do that. So, Nick, what do you think about this new policies, especially the Steam rolling out the 90-minute trials, knowing they have a two-hour return policy, and then Microsoft possibly doing the same thing with time slices with the possibility of adding ads? What are your thoughts? What do you think about this policy and time trials and, paid trials and all that kind of stuff?
As for Steam, I mean, it makes sense, right? You talked about a lot of games being, bad ports and stuff like that. And I'm sure Steam has gone through a lot of refund requests. So this makes sense for them to be able to provide a trial for a game where people can go out, play it, and if they don't want it, now Steam doesn't have to go through the process of refunding that and going through refund requests. The player can play 90 minutes, and if they don't like it, then they just uninstall it and go on their way, right? It also provides the player too, so the player doesn't have to put in a refund request, right? They just say, okay, cool, yeah, I want this game, and they go ahead and purchase it, or nah, I'm good, and they go ahead and say no, Not to say that Steam is not going to have refund requests happen. Of course they will, but this will kind of, I think, help alleviate that. Plus, I like this idea of trials like this, like a small trial, to allow you to play the game. And, if you like it, to continue playing it from there, right? PlayStation does this now. If you're a part of the PlayStation Essentials, Premium, Extra, I'm not sure which one, they have trials, and it's called PlayStation Trials. And basically you go in there and they have trials of games that you can play. I think it's 90 minutes on those, or something like that. Maybe it's 2 hours, 90 minutes, something along those lines. And it even saves your progress, right? So it's the full game. You just, after 2 hours or after 90 minutes or whatever, it just stops you from playing. And then if you purchase it, you've already got the game downloaded, because it downloads the entire game. So if you decide, okay, yeah, I want it, you go to the store and purchase it, then you just go back to the game and you're right where you left off and you can continue playing. It's a really good system, especially if you have, I've done it on the PlayStation. There were some PlayStation games that I don't own, and I was like, I wonder if this game's any good. And I downloaded it and played it for, an hour or so. I didn't play it the whole 2 hours, but I played it for an hour or two or whatever, and decided, yeah, I liked it, or I can't remember what I decided, but it was either yeah I did or didn't, and went from there with it, and just decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and purchase this and continue playing. But it helps the player decide if they are going to like the game, because you don't always know. And yeah, I mean, they do have the refund policy, but sometimes, depending on your bank and things like that, it might take a while to get your funds back and stuff like that, depending on how your bank is set up and everything like that. So it's even a lesser risk for the player, right? They can just go download it for free, try it out, and if they really like it, they can purchase it, and then they're cool. If they take $60 out of their out of their bank, and then they go play the game, they're like, this sucks, they refund it, and then they get a refund in 3 or 4 days. They might need that $60. They're like, okay, well, I can spend it elsewhere or on something else, but now I got to wait until it comes back. So with the trial, it helps alleviate that for the player as well. For the time slices, sounds like a pizza or like one of those little orange slices, but they're time slices. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's essentially the same thing, which is good, right? I mean, you have Game Pass, so they kind of have that system, except for Game Pass is the entire game and not just a slice of it. But it would be nice on Xbox to have something like that for games that are not on Game Pass, right? Now, EA on Xbox does this now, right? EA has their game trials where you can play, I think it's like 2 hours or so many hours of their newer games, to try out, and then you can purchase them. And that's even on Xbox. Like if you go to the Xbox EA app on the Xbox, you can see their game trials there. And, their newer games are usually listed there as like a so many hour trial that you can go and download. You get achievements. It's the entire game. So you get achievements and everything like that. You got your save file. So even if you decide not to buy it then and you buy it like a month later, your save file's still there, right? And you can continue right where you left off because it's a complete game. So, it would be nice for Microsoft to do something like that with other games. Say, okay, now we have game trials, or, I'm not sure if it would come from Microsoft or from the publishers or developers, like who puts this in. I mean, I would assume that how it would work is that Xbox or PlayStation or even Steam has some sort of trigger in place where you basically download the entire game. And then at that point, that license, either the license is just for 90 minutes, something within the license that you get when you download the trial that says, okay, after 90 minutes, it stops working, right? I'm not sure the back end stuff and how all that works on the back end. But, it'd be cool to see Xbox do more of that. Now, as far as the ads go, hell to the no on that. There's going to be a riot on their hands if they added something like that. I can't even stand ads watching YouTube videos or anything like, even looking at the Xbox dashboard and seeing Old Spice stupid ad in the bottom right hand corner. Like it annoys the crap out of me. And even if, this game was cheaper or whatever the case may be, if I got to see like Coca-Cola and Pepsi ads and all that crap going on, like if it's like a picture in picture thing where like half of it's the game and half of it's an ad circulating, we had talked about before, and not on here, but just us, me and Pat, and I think Shane as well. We talked about, I had read this article about a TV manufacturer that was making TVs that had ads built in. Basically, it had the TV and it had like a little bar at the top that would play ads constantly, 24/7. It just played ads. Now, granted, this TV was free. It was like, it wasn't a huge TV. I think it was like 27-inch or something like that. But you could get this television for free, and you'd set up in your house. You could watch TV or watch movies or whatever, and it would just scroll ads like a ticker bar, right? Just scroll ads or whatever all the time. Like it was on 24/7 scrolling ads and doing ads. I guess as long as the TV was plugged in, right? I would assume. But or maybe it's battery powered or solar powered. I don't know. When you'll never turn it off. But so I mean, even that was like, if we had our TVs at home and there was a ticker bar at the top or bottom scrolling ads, I would probably lose my mind. And to play a game and, if they set it up like YouTube where I'm like playing a game and all of a sudden ad just cuts in, oh, I mean, I would be done. Like there would be a riot on their hands. So this is, I don't know. The ad thing is something that I don't think, again, they were just talking about it, right? They're not implementing it. It was just something discussed. But if this gets implemented, I think this will be, as far as gamers go, I think this would be there would be a huge backlash from gamers on something like this. I just don't think they would go for that, right? There have been times where gamers have stopped something from happening because of the amount of backlash, right? EA had it a while, this was a few years back where they had the what was it? They in the cases they had the little the slips, the inserts that like you had to have, like once you bought the game, you had to have the insert inside, and then it had a code, and then even though you had the disc and everything, you had to punch the code in or something like that in order to play the game. But then they were finding like the codes didn't work. I can't remember that might not be, I'm pretty sure that was it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But they had something like that, right? It was something stupid like that.
It was to try to prevent resale of the games. Like there was a few manufacturers that did that because the code, once you input it in your account, was invalid and you couldn't trade the disc. You could take the disc back to GameStop, but couldn't do anything right, because they didn't have codes with them. But that died
and you couldn't
quickly.
buy a new code. So if you bought it resale, you couldn't just like reach out to Epic and say like, "Oh, hey, I bought this secondhand. I want a new code." They just wouldn't do that. It was basically you had to. That's exactly right. Yeah, they were preventing basically secondhand stores from being able to go out and buy a used copy of something, and that got huge backlash, right? And that was like that. A few games had that, and then about 2 months of EA trying to push it, they just said never mind, because players were basically just not buying their crap, right? And so EA is like, nope. And I think that would be the same case here, right? If especially for, Xbox is the only one talking about this. And I know, again, it's just talking, but Xbox, you're in a bad position right now with the crap games that you've been coming out with, and your bigger titles getting pushed out. And like right now, Starfield, you're saving grace. So, not to say they're doing this anytime soon, but if they were to add game trials or game things like this that had advertisements playing all the time in it, you might as well just put that nail in the coffin there, buddy. Because I think people would just be like, nope, I'm out. Like, I'm not playing games on there. I'm not doing that. People don't like the ad on the interface, right? Even that annoys people. Like seeing it. It annoys me too. I don't like to see a Mountain Dew ad or an Old Spice ad or whatever. I mean, it's not playing. It's just stationary, but still, it's like sponsored by. And like, I don't care, because I go on my PlayStation or my Nintendo and there are no ads, right? There's no ads on the interface. There's no Old Spice tile on the Switch or on the PlayStation. So yeah, stop that. No.
So would you be okay with product placement in your game ad? So let's say Master Chief walks in and be like, it's a Dorito break time. And he just pulls out a bag of Doritos and just starts eating them. You have to wait for him to finish eating before you can keep going. How would you feel about that? Or it's like, it's time for a Mountain Dew break.
No, I would not like that. Now, if they want to do product placement, like Death Stranding had product placement, right? Because you drink monsters inside of the little bunkers.
Yep.
That's fine, right? Because the gameplay didn't stop. They were just there. You saw the monsters. They kind of pointed it out in the game. Like, hey, there's monsters on the table, right? But it didn't really do much more than that. You could go and you could drink them, and that was the extent of it. If they want to do stuff like that, depending on the game, right? Then that's fine, right? If it's a realistic setting and a realistic world, and you want to have, Pepsi ad billboards up and Nissan, billboards and bags of Doritos all over the place, I mean, that's fine. That much I don't mind. But if the gameplay is stopping because the main character wants to do a Mountain Dew commercial in the middle of the game, basically, then no.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, Master Chief just stops and has a Dorito break or something, or he's like he stops and it's an Old Spice commercial, but Master Chief is in there in a bath towel, the scent of Old Spice. He's taking a shower.
You're like driving the Warthog, and all of a sudden the Warthog just stops. The camera zooms in, and Master Chief's like, "Cup of noodle. I always drink cup of noodle when I'm in the Warthog," and you're like, "God damn it."
Yeah, you're firing the gun on the Warthog. It's getting hot, and he whips out the cup of noodles. And you're like, you know what I like to do to cool my gun down? Steam my cup of noodles on it. So
I can just see it. Like, I can just see that being the future of gaming.
What it'll end up being, though, by the time they start doing this, we'll be in our 60s or something. It'll be Master Chief doing an ad for Depends. When I got these long Warthog rides, you know what keeps me sure? These Depends right here.
Sometimes my butt itches, so I use Preparation H.
Yeah. These Warthog seats aren't as comfortable as they used to be.
They didn't make them like they did back in my day.
Sometimes it feels like I'm sitting on a porcupine or a cactus. All right. Well, sounds like neither of us want any ads in our games, but we both agree that time trials, demos, whatever you want to call them, are a good thing, because we used to have demos for just about everything that came out. I remember back when I was a kid, even before we had the internet-based games, you can go out and get yourself a gaming magazine, and you had your Xbox magazine, you had your PlayStation, and you had your Nintendo, and you had all these, and they had a demo disc in them most of the time. Especially like PC Gamer back in the day, always had a demo disc and have like 10 demos on it. Of stuff that's coming out. I remember playing a Fallout demo back in the day because it was on disc in the sleeve, and I'm like, I gotta get this game.
I remember playing demo of Daggerfall, Elder Scrolls Daggerfall. Yep. That was before. I didn't even know Elder Scrolls. I mean, that was before Elder Scrolls blew up, because Elder Scrolls, like Morrowind, was really when Elder Scrolls blew up. And you heard everything about it, but I played Daggerfall. Didn't even know till Morrowind, and I played Morrowind, and I was like, this is really cool, really into Morrowind. And then later on figured out that Daggerfall is part of it, because I was really young when I played Daggerfall, and didn't even know I played that. But I remember playing it.
Remember when Pizza Hut used to give away demo discs for PlayStation? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You used to get a PlayStation demo disc at Pizza Hut and stuff, with the kids' meals and things.
Or Chex Mix.
Chex Mix, yeah.
Yeah, they had the Chex game that came in the Chex. I remember I didn't even care for Chex as a kid, but I remember I wanted it because I wanted that game in there.
I think Domino's had the Noid game, and stuff like that. But yeah. But I think we're all in favor of the demo, and so I think there's not a whole lot more we could say about this, unless Nick, you got anything that you want to add before we go get our slice of time.
I'm gonna go get my time slice. No, I have nothing else. I mean, game demos, game trials like this, 100%. Ads, no.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Would you like to watch an ad in any Halo game where Master Chief takes a Dorito or a Mountain Dew break, to make the game cheaper? Would you do that? Would you be okay with that? And what do you think about them bringing back the game trials, which is just a new term for demo, in my opinion? But, get to play the first 2 hours of the game, or up to a certain set point, whatever the game designer puts in there. Tell us what you think down in the comments. We're a fan of that, obviously. In this day and age of the broken day one game, I think it's almost a necessity. But let us know. Do you think so? Or would you partake in this? Or do you just, do you risk it? You risk it for the biscuit. Let us know. And it's the end of the episode. Make sure you subscribe to help us out. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified when we put out new videos, which we put out new videos every week. We hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.